we go, another Suikoden video. I just finished playing through the two spin-off titles, Genso Suikogaiden 1 and 2, and I really don't think that enough people have played through them. So this video is going to look into what these titles are all about and why fans of the series should put some time aside to play them. Released in 1999 and 2001 respectively, Genso Suikogaiden 1 and 2 are text-based adventures set around the time of Suikoden 2. Unfortunately, these titles never got a release outside of Japan, so fans like myself were forced to read through rough translations and summaries on sites like Suikosource. This all changed in 2013 when a group of dedicated fans led by Rin Uzuki released an English translation patch for both titles, so a massive shout out goes to them. While the Suikoden series may be dead, hopefully Suikogaiden 1 and 2 will give you that fresh Suikoden feeling you've been craving for years, assuming you haven't already played them. Let's get into it. These two Gaiden titles follow the travels of Nash, yep, the very same Nash that appears in Suikoden 3. Suikogaiden Volume 1, Swordsman of Harmonia, is set during the events of Suikoden 2, and this one was my personal favourite as it really expands on the characters that I loved. It also provided a lot more insight into the Suikoden universe, and this is the #1 reason that you should play these games. Now, I used to consider myself quite knowledgeable about the Suikoden universe. Hell, back in the day I even ran a highly successful Suikoden roleplay site. Give me a shout out if you were part of Castle Northwind all those years ago. Anyway, after all of these years of playing the series and spending hours and hours researching the characters and lore, there were still things that I missed that come up in these Gaiden games. One example of this is how last names are treated in the universe. If a character has a last name, they're most likely a member of a prestigious family with a long history or aristocratic background. The single name characters, they're just commoners. It's not just the world lore though. There are many characters whose backstories are greatly expanded on. In the first chapter of Suikogaiden 1 for instance, Sierra plays a key role, and this is where we learn about her complex backstory as a vampire and her history with the Moon Rune. The following chapter then goes into a bit more detail of how Joey was convinced to fight for the Highland Army. These are just two of the many examples. These games are constantly pumping out new things that you just wouldn't know by playing the mainstream games. One of my favourite reveals is how Nash is actually a non-playable character that can be interacted with in the main Suikoden 2 game, but I'm not going to spoil that one for you, assuming you don't already know. The story of Suikogaiden 2, titled Duel at Crystal Valley, is a little bit different as it's set just after the events of Suikoden 2. Here we once again follow the story of Nash, but this time the focus is more on him and his complex history. There's also quite a bit here that builds up to the events of Suikoden 3, and there's even an appearance of a character who was exclusive to that game when he was over a decade younger. Now, I already knew all about Nash through research on the internet, but actually experiencing everything that he's been through and his conflicts with Zarge was a whole lot more engaging. Actually playing as him gave me a whole new appreciation of the character, and his story is easily one of my favourites in the entire Suikoden universe. As you've no doubt seen by now, Suikogaiden 1 and 2 are absolutely jam-packed full of character cameos. There are some original characters, but the majority of them will be the ones we know and love from Suikoden 2. Some of them are greatly expanded on and play key roles in the Suikogaiden events, such as Sierra and Templeton, while others make minor appearances such as Anita. Seeing unfamiliar artwork of these characters was a real treat. I mean, damn, I completely forgot how drop-dead gorgeous Leona is. And Jean. Hello, Jean. Some moments even brought back all those feels from Suikoden 2, such as when you witness Rue and Nanami reunite with Joey outside of Noose. Holy crap, what a tearjerker. While these cameos are great, at certain times I did feel that some of them were forced, particularly in Suikogaiden 2. The world is a massive place, yet at times too many familiar faces seem to all be in the same place at once. But I guess that's fan service for ya. As I mentioned before, seeing all of the original artwork on the big screen was great, but a special mention needs to go to the amazing soundtrack. Most of the tracks are taken directly from Suikoden 2, but there were also quite a few remixes of our favourite tracks that I have never heard before. Some of these I felt were even better than the originals. It's also worth mentioning that each of these Gaiden titles comes with its own animated opening. I saw these years ago, but they're still great to watch. Alright, now I've left the gameplay to last because, well, to be honest, there really isn't much in the way of gameplay, being a visual novel and all. Most of the game is reading, but there are a few choices that can be made along the way. Each choice that you make will change the game in different ways. On a major level, some choices will take the chapter down a different path, providing alternate ways to proceed. This can change up the story quite a bit, which adds a good level of replayability. There's also a meter to the right of the text box that fills up when you make certain choices. Certain paths may need a specific number of points to proceed, so there's a bit of strategy in terms of when to save them and when to spend these points. On a more trivial level, there are 3 types of hidden points that you receive throughout your journey based on what options you choose. These are your popularity points, companion points, and secret points. The ways that these are used seem quite complex, but they do affect your progress in smaller, more insignificant ways. Being presented with every single line of dialogue and seeing all of the cameos will take multiple playthroughs, but the overall core story will all be revealed in the 5 or 6 hours it takes to complete each game. Hopefully, by now you've got a good idea of what the 2 Genso Suikogaiden games are all about. If you're a fan of the series, then I strongly recommend that you take some time out and play through the English translations of these games. There is just so much here to expand on the great Suikoden universe, and I was hooked with just about every word. Have you played these titles? What did you think? Or have you been convinced to give them a go now? Let me know in the comments. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this, hit like and sub for more Suikoden and RPG content. See you next time.